Hello and welcome to this edition of Trade Review. Today we're going to be looking at SCHW on both the daily as well as the weekly. Quick notes for you guys, if you guys want to see more of these videos, today I'm going to be posting one on KeyBank, TD Ameritrade, possibly Bank of America, and maybe even Nike. So I am long all of these right now, and we're just doing a little trade recap. I do this in place of a trade journal. That way, I can kind of keep track of what my thoughts are, what I'm thinking, and have a written dialogue, so to speak. So let's get straight into it. Today we're going to be looking at analyzing this with technical analysis. I won't go into the nitty-gritties of how I'm drawing everything. I'm going to assume that you know a thing or two about technical analysis, hopefully. So as you can see here, I've drawn a wedge. Now, I originally entered this chart with only this trend line right here. Now, what am I doing here? I like to, this is one of my favorite price action breakouts to play. Price action breakout patterns to play. And what kind of pattern is this? I'm just looking at this trend line right here. My goal is, can I draw 3 points of contact? Yes. Is the angle less than 45 degrees? Yes. So, when I'm drawing this, I'm looking to draw a trend line like this where we're in a downward slope and where we break above. Now, there's going to be people in here that are saying, Brandon, you're very biased with this line because you drew this line for a breakout before you had 3 points of contact. And what do I mean by that? We have a point of contact here, here, and then here. So it's pretty biased to say that this is a trend line if you're trying to play a price action breakout above this line, because your last point of contact is the breakout. And I do realize that, but this trade has worked very well for me, and I've entered into it. I was aware of the biasing that I created with this line. So I hope you followed that. What I'm trying to say is, don't bias yourself trying to draw these lines with only 2 points of contact, not knowing what you're doing, because any 2 points on a chart line up, right? Any 2 points. That's why we're looking for 3 points. And you can say, okay, well, there's 3 points of contact right here. Good enough, right? So first line I drew was this one. And I also went ahead and drew this bottom right here, right? We seem to be definitely trading in a wedge type formation here. We have a baseline that's rising here. So we're definitely getting higher lows, and that is why I drew this. And I recently drew this top price action trend line. Why? Because this is the most recent high. So naturally, I'm going to draw a resistance line going across here. And can we break above this resistance line is what I'm looking to see. So I hope you understand that. So I got in around this day right here with the stop loss just below 40, I believe. I think I got in at 42.09, so I didn't get the best entry into this one, I will admit, but it has paid off for me, it looks like. I have a stop loss down in here someplace, a mental stop loss. I have it written down. And a quick 20-second note for those new traders out there: always remember, have a plan of action. What's your entry point? Why are you entering? Why do you like the company? What is your stop loss, whether it's a mental stop loss or a stop loss you've already placed with your broker? What is it? And then finally, where do you plan to exit? If it goes in your direction, where do you plan to exit? And I will be honest with you, I'm a little weaker on the last one I just drew there. I don't know where I'm going to plan to exit on this one. I'm looking for at least 10% gain, but where am I going to exit? I'm not sure. I don't know, and that is a weakness that I'm suffering with at the moment, and something that I'm going to spend some time tonight in all my equities determining where's my exit point. So let's get into the technical analysis here. One last thing I forgot to note: when you're drawing a trend line like this, and you're trying to determine a price action breakout, right? Use volume to confirm. We have volume here on the day that we break out. This is a valid entry and we get in, right? If your volume bar is like way down here below even the 10-day moving average, it's probably not a solid breakout. Maybe it is. Finally, one last thing before I talk about the RSI: it's natural to see consolidation. So we had a breakout right here and we consolidated right here before moving higher. That is natural. I want to remind everybody of that. It's actually healthy. If you're not seeing that, I might be a little bit concerned. I'll go ahead and even draw a Fibonacci retracement here. And as you can see, we retraced down to the 38.2 level, just about, which is a pretty standard Fibonacci level. So retracement is part of a healthy chart. So we'll get into the RSI here. And I'm drawing everything real time here. So, I'm not, nothing here is voodoo magic or anything. We're going for 3 points of contact on this RSI trend line. If we don't have it, we're not drawing it. So this is the trend line I'm drawing. Why did I go with this peak instead of this peak? Because I do what I want, and I like it. It lines up better, right? And I am using the 14-day moving average on the RSI. Occasionally, I will do the 21 or 26, depending on what the RSI is looking like. So, drawing a few more trend lines here. We're looking for the RSI basically to stay above these trend lines. When we broke above, I would have already established this trend line right here. When we break above here, we're considering an entry. And look at that. Look how interesting that is. I was saying here, I based this trade based off of price action breakout alone, right? And look at this. RSI lines up. We break above here. RSI lines up with this long existing trend line that I've drawn here. I don't think that's a coincidence. And furthermore, we even break above 0 on the MACD here. So again, I don't think that that's a coincidence. And we even have volume. I see 4 buy signals occurring on this, in between these 2 bars here. Do you see what I'm saying? 4 buy signals. Buy signal here, buy signal here, buy signal from the volume, and buy signal because it broke out here. So this was a perfect entry. Like, honestly, you can't argue that this was a poor entry on any level whatsoever. So there's RSI. And if we continue to look at RSI just a little bit more, I back the chart out here. We're going to try, in my last video that I made on Key Corp, we talked about RSI trend lines and then drawing arrays once we break those trend lines, right? So hopefully you know what I'm talking about. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attempt to do the same thing on this chart. Again, we're looking for 3 points of contact, everyone. We got 1, 2, 3, even 4. We even have a little notch right here before we break below that. So you can go ahead. So that is a trend line. And if I go ahead and I draw a ray right here, let's see if it tells us anything. It tells us a little bit, it looks like. Oops. Let's get rid of this. If we look here, we break above this and we get in this massive run showing that this definitely is a very significant point on the chart. Now this is we're right at the 50 line on the RSI. If you know anything about RSI, we know the 50 line is more significant to begin with. And even here, we break below the 50 line, well, with this green line on this day right here telling you to get out. So it does look like this is significant. Here we break above and we get a nice little run in. So I would say this green line is significant, and I'm not going to necessarily trade off this green line alone. It's pretty noisy, as you can see. We have lots of noise in here, breaking above, below. So just keep that in mind. These are always good things to just note when you're looking at the RSI. Another 2 minutes here, and we will move on to the weekly. I'm going to draw this trend line here a little weaker, but we'll draw it anyways. Barely 3 points of contact, but if we were to draw this trend line with a ray extended, we get this. And as you can see, we kind of met resistance around here and here before finally breaking out. So this is just an example for you guys on how you can use RSI to help you with your trade entries. RSI isn't the most helpful on this chart, I will agree, but it's still always a valuable tool. So MACD, there's not too much to discuss on MACD. I will say, we tried to move higher at this point right here. We did not, and so we had a massive run here, right? And then we try to move higher here again. So massive run, we try to move higher here again. The MACD is at a lower positioning, but it gets rejected. We rejected right here, and MACD goes down. Well, MACD is much lower than it was here after this massive run. So what I'm going to say is, hey, we got rejected here. We got rejected here to move higher. So I'm going to draw a resistance line right here. That's what I've done. And we've broken through this resistance line on the MACD right there. So that's all I have to say on the MACD. Let's go ahead. Let's move to the weekly. Okay, so looking at the weekly, we see similar things. We still see the wedge that I originally drew. It's not as clean as it was on the daily, but nonetheless, it does apply. So we're still seeing the same wedge, and I am going to keep this top line here. As you can see, we broke out of the wedge. This orange line I drew right here is a stop loss type reminder for me. So that's nothing of significance. Let's go ahead and try to draw trend lines on the RSI here. Looking for, there's a trend line for us. Again, this only has 2 points of contact, but you know what? It is okay to occasionally draw aggressive trend lines. Just don't make it a concrete habit where you base all your decisions off of trend lines with 2 points of contact. Would be my recommendation to you. We got this one going on, and we have a trend line break right here. So if we draw a ray, we're going to be looking for the price action to clear this green point right here. Let's look some more. So I've just drawn a RSI trend line, lining up peaks on the RSI. Here we go. As you can see, testing this point right here makes this line more significant. What can we see from this? Well, again, if we apply the RSI breaking strategy, you know, the trend line breaking, and we draw a ray right there, it looks like we might have a point to test right up in here. So we will see. But that's a little bit of RSI analysis for you guys. You know, nothing here is too concrete, but it is what it is. Final point that I'm going to leave everybody off with is MACD. We know that MACD crosses above the zero line or below the zero line are less significant. The closer the cross is to the zero line, the more significant it is. Now, I will go ahead and I will say this. If you're looking to go long a stock and you're looking for an entry point, right? Let's say we're back here. You're looking to go long into this. You know, we're having huge rallies here. You don't want to be the last man in. There's a few strategies you can apply. One of them is the buy once it clears the last high. As we can see right here, the strategy works okay for you. And you most likely won't be the last person to the stock, right? As long as you buy once it clears the previous high. Now, looking at the MACD, what can we say? I would say, look, if you're trying to go long a stock, just buy when it crosses above the zero line, right? Again, it's not a concrete buy entry, but if you're confident on the stock, you know the fundamentals, you like the charts, and you know that you missed out on the original breakout, that's fine. How do you get into it? Either buy once it crosses the previous high, or look for MACD crosses. You know, we're crossing up here, we're crossing up here, you know, crossing up here. So you can try to employ that strategy. It will work for you as long as you are confident in the stock. You know, don't be confident in a garbage stock, obviously, but a MACD cross entry right here would have gotten you in. A MACD cross entry here would have gotten you in. So just keep that in mind. That is not a strategy to apply, you know, every single entry. I'm just reminding you of that, and that's actually what we're seeing here. And additionally, we're seeing uniform action, right? We come down and we're coming right back up, and we're seeing symmetry. We're seeing symmetry coming down, coming right back up. So this is a significant cross here, in my opinion, despite being above the zero line. We will see. But that wraps up trade review for everyone. If you want to know what I'm actually thinking on this one, I do think Schwab will move higher here. Just keep an eye on important levels like this top level that we're seeing right here. So hope this was helpful for everybody. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them. And if you like this video, please leave a like. Subscribe if you'd like to see some more. So thanks, everyone. Real quickly, I wanted to also look at the 5-minute chart. For those of you who are still around, which I doubt there's really actually any of you. I noticed today when I was looking at Schwab in real time, we formed kind of a wedge here, so to speak. So let's go ahead and let's give that a look. You can draw this wedge a few ways. You can draw it like that, or you could draw it with this lower bar right here, depending on, you know, what your style is. But eventually, as you can see, so if you were to draw this wedge, we break out here, test it again, move higher. But we end up actually, you know, if you were to draw this wedge instead, we end up breaking lower, testing it, and moving slightly lower. Notice there's negative volume on close. Smart money stepping in there for whatever reason. I'm not going to say too much until I see the outcome of this. But you notice that a lot of times you're seeing red on the close, so say what you will there. But I just wanted to point that out to everybody just real quick. You can even draw RSI trend lines on this kind of stuff, and maybe, you know, get some further information sooner than you would on the daily. You know, also look at the 30 minutes, the 1 hour, you know, they're all the same. You're going to learn a lot. I do think it's good to look at this type of stuff when you are looking at stocks.